Welcome, Negronis with Nord, episode 60. This is our second filming in a week, something I don't generally do, but I'm bringing the energy for y'all today. We are going to have a great show. I was talking to someone the other day who was like, oh, hey, I didn't know y'all had a podcast. Also, I looked it up, and your podcast is in the top 2% of the world of all podcasts, so I didn't know that. I don't do it for the numbers, y'all. I do it for you. But thank you for following along and continuing to ask questions and listen. And speaking of questions, we have some meaty ones today, and so I'm just gonna jump right into it. First question is, hey team, I'd love to know how brands choose their influencers. What's important? Followers, likes, comments? What's a brand's perspective on how they choose and what they think about working with influencers, and what might no-goes be? This could be a whole episode, and depending on how long it takes to explain this, it might end up being the whole episode. Influencer selection is one of the most important things that we do here at Fohr on the services side, and it is absolutely the thing that brands are using our tools to improve for themselves, right? I'm gonna just speak to how we pick influencers because I think we're the best in the world at this, and hopefully it can give you some insight on how these decisions are made. It's natural to think about what's important: follower count, engagement, reach, content quality. Actually starts way, way, way before that, right? When we work with a brand, generally they're coming to us with an RFP, right? That's a request for proposal. They send that out to 5, 10, 20 different companies, and they say, hey, we are asking for you to give us a proposal on what you would do to help us achieve these goals inside of this particular budget that we have. In that, let's say it's a $200,000 campaign. They want to work with 20 influencers over the course of 6 months on Instagram and TikTok. They're a beauty brand that is launching a new eyeliner, okay? So the first thing that we do, we have to come up with a strategy to address the brand, the product, their positioning and goals. If you're zoning out and being like, why don't you just answer the question, James? I'm saying this because these things are so important to the influencers that we eventually choose, right? We're gonna just speak on beauty so I don't have to talk more broadly. Brand and product, right? Is this high-end luxury? Is it a drugstore brand? What is this brand perceived as? Where is it bought? That's the first thing that's going to help us understand who would be the right partners for this. Then we talk about positioning and goals. How are they positioned? Is it a brand that's hyper-focused on product innovation, or is it a brand that's really focused on value and price? Okay, those things are really important. And we would be working with different influencers to address those different positions that the brand might have in the market. And then what are their goals, right? They're launching a new eyeliner, okay, but they might also say, we are a brand that has always stood for value, but we want to tell a product innovation story, okay? So now we have the brand and product, we understand the positioning inside of their specific niche, we understand their goals. This is a drugstore brand that is known for being an affordable option, but not necessarily innovative. They are launching a new product that is focused on the innovation of this product, whatever that might be, okay? Then our team pulls together a strategy. We say, okay, given all of those factors, this is how we think we would tell that story. So then we come up with a strategy, and this isn't gonna be a good one, but let's say, okay, it's a value brand, and they are looking to tell an innovation story, and so we are gonna work with makeup artists and people that are known for tutorials, right? This is not something we're gonna work with kind of more casual beauty influencers or beauty enthusiasts. We're gonna work with people who are respected for their technical opinion about beauty products, right? And so now, again, we have an archetype. We have a type of influencer that we're working with. We submit that RFP, we present it to the brand, we win the business, yay, we ring the bell, we're very happy, and now we get to work, okay? So we've got the strategy, and we have to find influencers that, fit that archetype that we have pitched the brand and fit their budget. And so first thing that we're gonna look at, following size, location, and platforms, right? We know we are looking for influencers that are 50,000 followers on either Instagram or TikTok, and they're in the US. Let's say that, we actually want to focus on not tier 1 cities. So we don't want to be in New York, LA. Well, I think those are probably the only tier 1 cities in the US, but we don't want New York, LA. Okay, so we take the 220,000 influencers on our platform, and we're gonna start to filter that down, take New York people out of that, right? Now we're going to look for brand fit, content, what is your focus? How are we going to make sure that you are that technical authority, that you can tell that technical product story we're looking to tell, right? And so we are going to look for people who are makeup artists. We're gonna look for people who are doing a lot of product-focused beauty tutorials, and we use content search. So if you're on Fohr, we save all of your posts and make them searchable. We will be searching hashtags. We will be searching for certain brands. We will be searching for certain phrases and looking for content that we feel like aligns with the strategy that we have laid out. We're also going to look for people that have already spoken about this brand, right? Ideally, we're gonna find people who are talking about not just luxury, right? Let's remember we're talking about a drugstore brand. And so if we find somebody that is a great makeup artist, really good tutorials, all they do is luxury, then that's not gonna be somebody that we're working with. So we're looking at the brand that we are doing the campaign for is what we'll be searching for, but also brands in that universe. What are the other brands that they would be talking about? Maybelline, CoverGirl, whatever it might be, that's gonna help us find the people that are the right fit for that. Now we're gonna look at data. We're gonna look at your reach data. We're gonna look at engagement rates. We're going to look at demographics, make sure if we're targeting women 35 to 50 that when we look at your audience, the percentages, your demographic percentages are reaching those audiences, right? If the brand is targeting 35 to 50-year-old women and 70% of your following is 18 to 22-year-old men, that's not gonna work for this campaign. We're also looking for reach numbers that are above average. Reach numbers that are above average, engagement rates that are above average. We are looking to maximize our clients' spend, and so we're making sure to pick people who we feel like have the best data story to tell that fit in all the other categories and criteria that we have, right? We pull that list together. So now let's remember we want to work with 20 influencers. We want to get 40 of them approved, which means we're going to send the client 80 people. So we send the client 80 influencers. Our team does the research. We write little blurbs. We say, we love Nikki because she is a makeup artist in Boston. She has deep technical knowledge. She worked at Sephora for 4 years and has a really engaged audience. We love Brian. He is in Nebraska. He does some incredibly creative looks, has a big following in the Midwest. Whatever the things are, we're gonna give a little background and insight into why we are picking this influencer, what we like about them, and then also the kind of top line data. They go from 80 to 40. They select their first pick and their second kind of choice for influencers. And then lastly, we go out and reach out and negotiate and onboard. We start by sending it to their first picks, but as people come in maybe above budget or don't respond to us or whatever it might be, we start going through the list, negotiating, locking people in, and making sure we're not spending more than that $200,000 budget that the brand has. That is, how long do we just talk for? 13 minutes. That's how we pick influencers. It is complex. As I said, it is the most important thing that we do. The strategy a brand has, the creative idea that they have, it is manifested in the influencer selection. As an influencer, I think it's important to understand all of the factors that go into choosing an influencer. That same brand, that same value-focused drugstore beauty brand, if we have a different strategy, instead of pitching, hey, we want to focus on the technical aspects, innovation of this, if the brand says, we really want to tell a value story, and we are half the costs of our competitor, and we think the product's better, that's a different influencer. Same brand, same product, different focus, totally different influencers, right? Same brand, same product, same focus, different budget, totally different influencers, right? It can be frustrating as an influencer to see other people getting brand deals and you're not, and thinking, what is wrong with my feed, or why am I not getting picked for these things? But at its best, influencer selection is a really complex and multifaceted thing. And it's the things that you can do to improve your chances of being selected. Of course, sign up for Fohr, that helps. Make sure your accounts are up to date and all connected and all of that. Talk about the brands that you like. Again, that's our first thing that we try and do, right? Like the thing that can increase your chances the most at working with one of our clients is talking about that client. Give them coverage, because if we can find somebody that we're like, they posted about you 5 times this year already and their audience loves it, we know they're going to be excited about this partnership. We know when they announce the partnership, their audience is going to be excited because they're already been engaging with this content. That's the dream for us, And so I encourage you all to talk about your dream brands, talk about the brands that you want to work with. Be explicit about that, right? We actually have a section of Fohr where you can write in your dream partnerships. When we start working with a client, be it on the technology side or on the managed services side of the business, one of the first things we send them is the list of influencers who have listed them as a dream partnership, because that's so powerful for a brand to know that you as an influencer, you were their dream partnership. Like the amount of passion and authenticity that you're going to bring to that partnership is just so much greater than just another brand deal, just another contract that you get. And so it seems simple picking an influencer, right? I think a lot of people think it's a follower count and engagement rate, right? But there are tens of millions of creators and influencers. Strategies are getting much more specific, and it is why the best thing to do is to focus on building that audience, share brands and things that you really love, and just, be true to yourself and to that audience, because, for us, we have pretty powerful tools to go out and find influencers, again, that support the strategies that we have pitched or that our clients have laid out as their strategic focus. The more y'all are sharing and the more you talk about, and the more you share kind of what you're interested in, the easier it is going to be for us to find you.
Does the aesthetic of your profile matter to some brands?
So the question is, how important is aesthetic? I would say that goes into like fit. When we're looking for, have you talked about this brand, or are you talking about brands that are in that universe? We would also look at your aesthetic of your content. Ultimately, we are downplaying that because we believe that creators are best suited to define what the aesthetic is that they can best communicate a brand's values to their audience. Running a inclusive and diverse campaign means being open to different aesthetics. Sometimes brand fit can, kind of stand in for a type of kind of discrimination. It's like, ooh, that doesn't feel like us. So we try and push brands away from that kind of language. An example of like a company that sells cowboy hats, they're gonna want creators that are interested in Western wear, who are riding horses, who are authentically living in that world, rather than just picking a random person and throwing a cowboy hat on them. So in that way, aesthetics are important. And then sometimes they will say, look, we're looking for more polished professional photography, and sometimes it's, we're looking for more raw or a mixture of both. And so that would be part of that brief as well. I think that was a long enough question to be a full episode, and I think ultimately it deserves its own space. So keep the questions coming, and when I get back from Cuba, we'll pick this thing up. Cheers. I think in the future, Gen Z is going to be embarrassed of all these stupid, non-existent trends that they have made up. Coastal cowgirl is not a thing. They're running with all of this stuff. There was another coastal grandma or something.
Yes,
Coastal grandma, cottage core. Jesus Christ, people. I think it might be time to focus on our careers. If we can go back to, Aaron will throw this up, but I think 2017 or so, when I bought a Stetson and wore it around New York and said that I felt like the American West was about to become a big trend. That was like a couple years before Kanye went out to Montana, and like Western wear and the West in general started becoming a thing. Before I would like walk into streetwear shops in New York and hear them playing Culture Wall and Hank Williams and be like, wow, this is like, things have changed. But if you want to talk about who really started the trend, it was probably me. And I have the receipts, so cheers to that.